Viola Davis and her lady warriors will blow you away in The Woman King. Viola Davis, Lashana Lynch, John Boyega, Gina Prince by the Wood. When you put a handful of powerhouses like these folks together, of course you're going to get a complete tour de force of an action film like The Woman King. It should come as no surprise that The Woman King is an absolute blast of a cinematic experience. Again, just look at those names, watch the trailer, that's all you need to know. But the movie still manages to exceed expectations. The action sequences are choreographed so brilliantly, as if these warriors were members of Cirque du Soleil, but the deeper contextual arcs layered into them make The Woman King worth writing home about. On top of being a whirlwind action film, The Woman King is also a family drama, a historical film, and an underdog story, all with a tinge of romance. We get a Star Wars-inspired scrawl at the start of the film to lay the groundwork, but it's fairly easy to pick up on the issues at hand from the start. It's 1823, and the West African Kingdom of Dahomey has been participating in the slave trade to stay afloat. Because of this, Dahomey is constantly under siege by the neighboring Oyo tribe, which also benefits from the trade. But under new leadership of King Gezo, Boyega, the kingdom hopes to remove itself from the trade and sell its palm oil instead. Still, the Oyo tribe is relentless, demanding innocent Dahomey citizens to put up for trade or face its wrath. Dahomey is stuck. Enter the Agojie, a fiery women army led by the wise Nanisca, Davis, and dexterous Agojie, Lynch. Though they've spent the last few years hunting for prisoners to contribute to the Portuguese slave trade, Nanisca has had enough. Despite ruffling some feathers with the king's royal circle of wives, she pleads with him to consider stepping away from the trade. With an army as tough as the Agojie, they gouge eyes out with their nails, spin kickflips around massive brutes of men, and can still happily dance together at the end of the day. Defeating the Oyo tribe shouldn't be a major issue. On top of the Dahomey versus Oyo clash, which is high drama in and of itself, we also get a look into the intense training of the Agojie soldiers. Nawi, the Underground Railroad's Thuso Mbedu, refuses to lose her fierce independence to a much older, misogynistic husband, so her adoptive father offers her to King Gezo's military. That's no problem. Nawi, now 19, has dreamed about becoming a member of the Agojie since she was a child. Agojie training is intense, to say the least. Imagine throwing yourself into a tangle of thorns, slicing up your skin, only to then scale a 20-foot-tall wall and fight a Hulk on the other side. This is just practice, but it's fun to root for plucky Nawi while also pulling for Nanisca, the Agojie, and Dahomey's exit from the slave trade. There are, of course, many exciting payoffs to celebrate along the way. Though this is Viola Davis's movie, Lashana Lynch runs away with some of the best scenes. From the opening, in which she shoves her sharpened fingernails into a man's eyeballs, she's the action goddess. Pop out the eyeballs, she explains to Nawi early in the film, and the fight is over. She'll take down a man in seconds and smile the whole time she's executing him. Agojie is an absolute hoot, too, joking that the white man's only positive contribution to society is whiskey. Lynch is clearly the perfect candidate for James Bond's 007 title. What seals the deal on The Woman King is that the Agojie were a real troop of warriors, who actually inspired the Dora Milaje warriors in Black Panther, that took down the Oyo tribe in the 1800s. The Woman King immerses audience in thick layers of history in West Africa, where the issue of the slave trade is too complex to explain without seeing every side of the story. We meet the traders, the Oyo tribe, the victims being traded away, and as many folks in the Dahomey kingdom as possible. No stone is left unturned in The Woman King. The best moments by far, though, are any that focus on the tight bond shared between fellow Agojie warriors. They are sisters, brought together by their love of the craft and their passion for protecting each other. It is a pleasure to watch them dance together, perfect their skills together, and enter battle together as one momentous group of power, all held together by Viola Davis, who shines like the legend she is. It's a true cinematic miracle when films like The Woman King come around, so full of heart, satisfying action, and bold feminist roots, all packed into one tightly woven film. Getting to witness it in theaters too? That's the Agojie's biggest win of all. Dave Bautista wants to be in a romantic comedy, so why isn't he? Dave Bautista would like to star in a romantic comedy, and according to a recent interview with Page 6, He's not sure why he hasn't been cast in one already. I ask myself, am I that unattractive? The knock at the cabin actor said. Is there something that unappealing about me that excludes me from these parts? It's astounding and upsetting. How do we live in a world where Dave Bautista has been gaslit into wondering if he's too ugly for a rom-com? I mean, have you seen the arch on those eyebrows? And yet, there Bautista was on Wednesday, elaborating on his comments during the Late Late Show with James Corden, where he said he's been trying to get into a rom-com to no avail. I've been trying to get in one for years, he said, and I always ask myself, what is it about me that no one can see me in this space? Bautista, formerly a WWE wrestler whom GQ recently declared a bona fide movie star, has often been pigeonholed as an actor, forced into macho roles that can't quite contain his range. He's done the Schwarzenegger kindergarten cop thing with My Spy, and he's played the heavyweight hitman Inspector. He brought earnestness to his Marvel character, the dunder-headed Drax, but the role didn't exactly offer much room for growth. It was hard playing that role, Bautista told GQ. The makeup process was beating me down. And I just don't know if I want Drax to be my legacy. It's a silly performance, and I want to do more dramatic stuff. What Bautista seems to be craving is something a little more human, something that'll give him the space to show some real tenderness. And why not? Twitter's response, for the record, was resounding. Put Dave Bautista in a rom-com immediately. The thing is, Dave Bautista would probably do great in a rom-com. Any rom-com, or at least, any rom-com scenario. The fulcrum of any good romantic comedy is the chemistry between two leads, and Bautista can banter with the best of them. As seen in Glass Onion, he also knows how to maintain dramatic tension, perhaps a transferable skill that can also apply to romantic tension. Like all genres, however, romantic comedies can often contain certain tropes and types, and Bautista, a half-Greek, half-Filipino beefcake, doesn't quite fit the usual slender, Anglo-Saxon mold. White, toned but slender men unsurprisingly dominate all corners of the rom-com space and seem to have the easiest time finding variety within it. Just look at Hugh Grant, who's played the work enemies to Lovers Guy, 2 Weeks Notice, The Nice Guy, Notting Hill, and, at least twice, the possibly reformed player, Bridget Jones' Diary, 4 Weddings and a Funeral. Things haven't changed much since Grant's heyday in the 90s, either. Just look at a quick sampling of some of our more recent leads. Noah Centineo, To All the Boys I've Loved Before, Jacob Elordi, The Kissing Booth, John DeMel, Shotgun Wedding, and Owen Wilson, Marry Me. There are always exceptions to the rule, like serial rom-com star Taye Diggs in his How Stella Got Her Groove Back days, or, more recently, Randall Park in Always Be My Maybe, William Jackson Harper in We Broke Up, and Henry Golding in Crazy Rich Asians. Still, for the most part, rom-com leading men remain pretty homogeneous, in spite of fan outcry in favor of such delicious ideas as Oscar Isaac, Pedro Pascal, Idris Elba, Daniel Kaluuya, Donald Glover, Stephen Yeun, and many more. To be clear, however, the boundaries that define who can play what type, and who cannot are completely made up and deserve nothing but disrespect at all times. Do we really believe that Dave Bautista couldn't play, for instance, an enemies to lovers guy? As seen in films like The Proposal and You've Got Mail, rom-coms with that dynamic also often center around work. Perhaps Bautista and his Guardians of the Galaxy co-star Zoe Saldana could play rival cryptocurrency investors? Or maybe he and Charlize Theron are spies who are trying to kill one another in a sexy way? Just some ideas. Bautista also faces the hurdle of his past career. While former wrestlers like Dwayne The Rock Johnson and Andre the Giant have paved the way, wrestlers often remain typecast in physical, combat-heavy roles. But could we really not envision Dave Bautista playing, like, a jacked civil engineer who can't help but fall in love with the spirited community organizer who's been blocking his project for months, as played by Natasha Rothwell? Could he really not be the extremely empathetic, I'm afraid he's out of my league, guy, a la John Corbett in My Big Fat Greek Wedding or Noah Centineo in To All the Boys I've Loved Before? The only rom-com leading man, type, that Bautista could not satisfy, the only category I believe to be beyond his capacity for transformation, is the Adam Sandler category, because only Adam Sandler can do what he does. Everything else? Give Bautista a chance, and I bet he could do it with the right leading woman. A common failure of modern romantic comedies is a failure to cast for genuine, sizzling chemistry. The Dave Bautista rom-com would not make this mistake. Whoever stars opposite Bautista must be formidable, either through their strength or the intensity of their presence. And comedic chops will be crucial. Rose Byrne, would you be interested? Stephanie Beatriz? The bottom line, however, is that if Dave Bautista wants to star in a romantic comedy, then someone should put Dave Bautista in a romantic comedy. He has the comedic timing, the good looks, and the swagger to pull it off. All he needs now is the right vehicle.